Welcome to Confidently Building Block 2 Messaging Your Brand. And today we're talking about your dominant brand archetype. Now, remember where we are on the Confidently Success Map, where we achieve progress, not perfection, to market and scale your expert-based business. And we're right here in the messaging building block, right here at the top, dominant brand archetype influence. Now, there are only 4 things that make your brand unique from anyone else who does what you do. Number 1, your values, which we covered in the mindset building block. Your brand archetype influence mix, also known as your AIM, which we're going to be teaching you here in messaging. Your stories, which is the test framework, and your use cases, which are your frameworks themselves. And we're going to be going over all of that in the messaging building block. But for now, let's talk about brand archetypes. What are they? Well, they were first coined by the social psychologist Carl Jung, and he described them as energy patterns that are universal guides on how we relate to our personal power. And in this case, specifically in relationship to your business. In general, think of the archetype as the personality of your brand. It's the nucleus, the soul, and the heartbeat of what makes you most unique because it comes from you, the founder. Now, every major brand in the world uses archetyping as the essence of their marketing and brand strategy. And the biggest issue I see for entrepreneurs is they're either not using brand archetypes at all or properly, and marketing is what gets you seen. So if your marketing needs to get seen, you want to embody your brand archetypes because it's what, or one of the factors that makes you different. So before you continue, if you have not taken the full brand archetype influence mix assessment, you can go to masterbrand.me/aim-VIP. Now, first of all, this is a secret link because every single day I get pings in my PayPal buying this full report. And as part of the Confidently program, you have this as a benefit. Now, a couple things. If you already have your AIM, meaning you've taken it in the past, you've taken it in a previous program, perhaps, I gave it to you for some reason as an incentive, do not take it again. Take out those reports for the purpose of these 2 lessons in the building block number 2 messaging. I repeat, do not take the AIM again if you've already taken it, because it's really important that you don't. Now, if you haven't taken it, and this is brand new to you, 2 things to consider when you take it. First of all, don't take it when you have compressed time. Give it 20 to 30 minutes to do, because it's not some entertainment only brand archetype quiz. It's actually a real diagnostic on human behavior and what drives you as the founder. So you want to be not distracted, and frankly, you don't want to be under the influence of anything like alcohol or anything like that. There's no judgment there. It's just that you want to be fully clear and present when you take the assessment so you get the right results. The second thing is you want to take the assessment from the place that you currently are in your life, not for what you wish you could have or the visionary you believe you are, and definitely not from past experiences. You want to take it as you're answering the questions based on where you are right now at this point in time. These are 2 critical things. Please pay attention to if you do that. So if you want, you can pause this video, go take the AIM, and then come back to this video. Okay, but again, please don't retake it if you already have, because changing your archetype results is not the point of this. In fact, if you're the type of person that needs to know every single potential result, you're going to miss the point of being able to actually use it in becoming a more effective marketer of what you have. So now, a couple other contextual things about brand archetypes. There is no better or stronger archetype than any of the others. So whatever comes out as your mix, your dominant, your intrinsic, and your intuitive, none is better than the other, and none is better than the other archetypes in the universe. So don't let that disappoint or even excite you, okay? It's really more neutralizing that idea. Changing your archetype is a surefire way to confuse yourself and your audience. And so, like I said, that's why it's important. If you already have done this, don't retake it. Don't try to retake it. You actually can't if you've already signed up for it, but don't bother. And also, one thing that I ask you to do in the Confidently program is commit to doing the work of the brand archetype mix that comes up while we're working through this program. And you'll see how it starts to really affect things. If you can just trust the process, I promise you will get the clarity you need. So if you keep changing it or thinking, you know, it's not for you, it can affect your clarity on how you message and market. So we want to use it in a powerful way. Now, the other question I get is, does my aim change over time? And yes, it can, but it's unlikely to for a long while, if it ever does. For example, my aim, which is the ruler, explorer, lover, has not changed since I started becoming, since I started being an entrepreneur and building my businesses. And actually by them staying and actually me getting stronger at messaging through this filter, I've actually even more solidified the strength of the mix. And that's ultimately the point. Now, again, personality isn't permanent. And so it can shift and change and evolve, definitely based on life circumstances. But cross that hurdle when you get there as you develop a brand that makes a lot of impact and a lot of income. And then decide to potentially shift. And at that point, check in with me or my company, because we can help you with that. The other thing is, most people are operating out of their intrinsic and intuitive archetypes, which weakens communications and neutralizes your power. And what I mean by that is, most times your second and third archetypes, or your intrinsic intuitive, are archetypes that you develop from inserted belief systems from growing up and whatnot. And you've actually felt safer at the second or third archetype. That's why it's in your mix. And the challenge, what I find after studying literally thousands upon thousands of humans and the behavior of how and why they buy things, is that when you lead from your dominant, that's when you'll start to be seen as a leader, not as just somebody who everybody expects to behave a certain way. And that doesn't mean you have to get super radical, depending on your archetype mix. What it means is that you'll find it interesting when you get your reports, or if you've already seen them, if you ask yourself honestly, gosh, do I typically lead from my second or third archetype? You probably do in some kind of way. And that's just a notice thing. Be aware of it. The other thing is, archetypes are not literal things. Remember, they're energy patterns, okay? They're used to enhance your messaging and storytelling. So you are not your archetype. The archetype is an influence inside of the way you message. So if you tend to think, oh, I gotta nail this, I gotta talk just like a ruler, if that's your dominant archetype, you're missing the point here, because it will negate nuance, discernment, and context, which is necessary in messaging. And remember, brand archetypes are only one of 4 things that help you with your messaging. So it's not the only thing. So it's critical that you know that difference. Now let's go into the 12 master brand archetypes. They are the maverick, the ruler, the alchemist, the creator, the sage, the provocateur, the explorer, the healer, the hero, the muse, advocate, and lover. And the point is, 3 out of the 12 are your primary influences of how you like to message and could message more powerfully. Let's go through each archetype really quickly so that you can see and hear. And by the way, all of this is in the report that you received for your top 3, but I'm going to show you all 12, because that's another question I get, is like, well, I'd like to know more about the other archetypes. And I say, okay, I'll tell you what they're about, but I would worry less about the ones you aren't and worry more about the ones that you are. Okay. So the maverick leads through radical metamorphosis, status quo be damned, and provocative concepts, using brave and unconventional means to move people out of inertia and into intention. These are some of the power words of the maverick. And these are some of the master brand models, people that you can look up in Google and see how they message their brand. Okay, look for those things. And there are a ton others. These are just some that I picked out that you could take a study of. The next is the ruler, who leads confidently through earned experience, unapologetically directive in the noble pursuit of order, beauty, and peace desired by humankind. These are the ruler's power words. And here are some examples of some models you could look at in terms of writing on the internet. I'm one of those because the ruler is my dominant archetype. The alchemist, a change agent for the ages, uses transformative and catalytic experiments to get magical results, blending science and spirit to show the world what's possible through many different lenses. The alchemist power words are right here, and these are some of the master brand models that are alchemists. Probably the most famous master brand model for the alchemist is Apple. The way that they deliver product and the way that they transform their audience's interaction with their product. The next is the creator, which innovates, interprets, and manifests the next big movement, intensely devoted to problem solving through tangible yet expressive problem solving inventions. Here are some of the creator's power words, and here are some master brand models you can look at on the internet to see their messaging style. The next is the sage, which is truth-seeking through thought and rational research and uses the mind and logic to make decisions and attain or dole out wisdom while maintaining objectivity. So these are some of these power words related to the sage, and these are some of the models that you could take a look at their messaging. One of the most powerful sages on the planet is Oprah Winfrey. Take a look at the way that she communicates. The next is the provocateur, passionately promotes concepts using authenticity, humor, risk-taking, and boldness with wicked smart, intuitive decision-making superpowers. So those power words are right here, and some master brand models for you to take a look at, like Tim Ferriss, Geico, Marie Forleo. They're all dominant provocateurs. The explorer craves learning through adventure, exploration, no limits way of life, boldly inviting others to join them on their quest for meaning and impact. These are the power words that explorers use a lot. And then here are some of the master brand models. Amazon and the United States of America are both explorer dominant brands. The healer creates and nurtures the beliefs, conditions, and framework for healing to happen. These are some of their power words. And some of the master brand models are right here. Marianne Williamson, Dove, The Honest Company. The next is the hero, determined and courageous to transform the world to truly purposeful living, continuously learning and improving to serve the greater common good. These are the power words of the hero. And some of the master brand models include FedEx, Nike, the US military. These are really, really good models for how they message their businesses. The muse, which inspires the Imagineer in all of us, revealing worldly concepts in deliciously simple ways and creating sacred partnerships and enlightenment through optimism, trust, hope, and charm. Their power words are right here, and some of the master brand models to take a look at, two of the most popular ones are Volkswagen and Coca-Cola. The next is the advocate, which transforms and empowers communities of change in the quest of luscious freedom. The advocate is basically the every person. And so they're always looking to help everyday people. So these are some of their power words, and some of the models right here, Tom Shoes, Rachel Ray, Jonathan Fields, are good examples. Finally, the lover, which uses passion and pleasure as the path to purpose and prosperity through deep connection and affection for everything gorgeous, intimate, and devoted. These are some of their power words and some of these master brand models that you can take a look at for their messaging. Okay. So let's talk about the mix itself. So the three parts of your brand archetypes. And that is your dominant, as I said, your intrinsic, and your intuitive archetypes. Now, the dominant or primary archetype is the most crucial reference point for every move your brand makes. And it's very important for you to learn how to harness the energy and potency of your dominant archetype voice. The intrinsic and the intuitive archetypes fill in the blanks and backs you up. I like to think of the dominant archetype as the main meal, and the intrinsic and intuitive archetype are like the salt and pepper. You know, they season the messaging. They give the message depth of flavor, if you will, in the way that it lands. And the better you get at leading with your dominant archetype and using the two others to really soften or edge up your messaging, will be a huge advantage for you in your marketing. Now, let me give you an example, because I mentioned earlier that I have a specific mix. It's called ruler, explorer, lover. And the ruler is known as the CEO, the leader, or the expert. And by the way, remember, no archetype is better than the other. So a lot of people, when they hear, if they're not a ruler, they think, oh gosh, I'm not going to be seen as a leader. That's not true. It's just that the ruler really leads with that messaging. That's the point there. Okay. So that's mine. The Explorer is a journey to a place you've never been before. So the idea is that I show you a path. In fact, when I opened up this training, you saw the Confidently Success map right there. That's a Ruler Explorer messaging name for my program and the framework that I use to teach you, right? And then my intuitive archetype is Lover, which is high touch, generous, and inviting. And how I personally use this as the founder of my company, and mixing this with the values that our company holds, we decide when we do things to make sure that we are leading with the ruler and showcasing how we guide people, and we do it in a high touch way, even if we can't be together in person. And if you're listening to this training and you've been a part of either one of my live events or my live coaching, many people say that when I explain the brand archetype influence mix to them, they really see that come through. And it really does help me be more potent and effective in my messaging, in my marketing, as well as the way that I deliver content to my audience. So you have the same opportunity when you can break down how yours does too as a founder. Another question that I get, just to get it straight, is if you have a business partner or a group of people that have founded the company you're in, the brand archetype mix, influence mix, is specifically related to the founder who is seen as the visionary. For example, when Apple founded Apple, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were full partners in the business. Woz was, the technical engineer, geeky guy, and Jobs was the visionary. He was the marketing guy. He was the product development guy. And he is, of the duo, the more visionary of the two. So therefore, Apple's brand is a alchemist dominant brand. If Wozniak was more of the visionary, they'd probably be more a sage brand, okay? And so it's based on the visionary. So just to so you know that, just in case you're like, should it be a mix of ours? It should not be a mix of yours. It is the visionary. And if you're also wondering, gosh, is this the thing that makes me, what if it doesn't outlast me? I want to build a brand that has legacy, and I don't want it to just be about me. It doesn't matter. Steve Jobs is no longer on this planet, and his vision and his brand archetype mix is still a part of Apple's marketing, even though he's not here. So it's more about how does that vision start to become real through the original founder's messaging, okay? So here's the advantage you have when you start to learn how to really wield your dominant archetype voice. You'll use it for speaking, video, live stream, email, social, sales pages. If you write a book or an ebook, you'll start to see the through line of your dominant brand archetype seasoned by your intrinsic and intuitive archetypes in everything you do, which will start to build your thought leadership, what you're known for, inspiring your audience, making it resonant for them, creating easy content marketing, really establishing your brand voice and your influence and your authenticity. And it gives you a systemized approach of how you can speak the language of your brand. As I said, your dominant brand archetype is the one most important to master in your messaging, because when you master it, also known as get consistent in your communicating, your dominant archetype, then your messaging becomes more confident and people start to recognize your voice as yours. So as we wrap up, take a look at your dominant archetype report. What comes up for you? How does your dominant archetype line up with your top 5 values? Choose at least one of the brands mentioned that's the same as your dominant archetype. What parts of their messaging do you notice in alignment with yours? What's not in alignment? And then go ahead, congratulations, check this off on your Confidently Success Map and do the next lesson within 48 hours of completing this one to stay in momentum. See you in the next lesson.